that kind of like that's fine. But then that really stands out later in the film, where again Holdo executing her plan was perfectly fine, losing nearly every ship.
Right.
So the movie kind of like sets a double standard up, but also, again, and this is just a fan like me would notice. General Leia, she recruited Poe Dameron for his essentially brashness.
Right. Yeah. And
She knew what he was a fighter pilot in the Republic military.
Yeah.
Who had gotten in trouble for tactics like that. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Hey, that's how you roll. Come along with us."
Yeah. And to rebuke him for such things. Well, I mean, it like that could also like character development isn't necessarily dead. Like just because you're like an old, well-developed character doesn't mean that you can't like have your moment of like, oh, I kind of like, I see that I've fallen into a rut or blah blah blah. But
yeah. Well, in terms of the timeline of her first recruiting him,
yeah,
and
no, yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
like it's like weeks to a month and a half.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like my takes on the film.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it did really well, but having said that, Solo is kind of bombing at the box office, and it's my opinion that it's fan retaliation for the condition of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's okay. So that may be true. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of organized boycotts of it. It doesn't really have anything to do with The Last Jedi. It has more to do with the like yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Cody. Like people are upset that like progressivism has taken over like the ideology of the movie. Like people are upset that they've made it canon that that Lando Calrissian is like a pansexual or something like that.
Well, the writer of the movie made that comment about him.
Mm-hmm.
Disney did not comment whether that was canonical or not. And
yeah,
that doesn't really, it's not I guess it's not an issue in the film.
yeah, right. It didn't seem like it was a. I mean, like, because really, who the hell cares? Like, who the hell cares what your sexuality is anyway? If the movie,
right.
If the movie is about Star Wars and they take the time out of it to fundamentally focus on a character's sexuality, other than like a particular love interest,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like that's grossly absurd. Now, like it's one thing if it's part of the story for you to be like compelled to oh man, they have my my boyfriend or my girlfriend or something like that. Like that's a major plot point, and like you can deal with that in any way you want. Like I don't think people are so backwards and bigoted that they wouldn't watch a movie where a guy was trying to rescue his boyfriend.
Yeah.
But that's
probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think the issue that people have, which like I said, it's not a thing in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like he could just like a flaming faggot and like it doesn't matter. Like
I think people have a problem with it because Lando is he's an established character. Just like you said, he's an established character that magically is adopting these attributes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I kind of Disney is kind of taking the approach, in my opinion. All right, we want to increase the we want to make relatable characters to all of these minority groups.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of creating brand new characters with these attributes they want to promote,
yeah, we're gonna retcon old characters into fitting in with these progressive values. Yeah, and
right. I don't think that's the right way to do that.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. That's what killed Marvel Comics in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Rather than creating brand new intellectual property, they've taken old characters and jammed them into social justice appropriate roles, and people hated it because it turns out social justice warriors don't read comics.
Right. And I'm not saying there can't be a gay Star Wars character.
I'm pretty sure they can find Paul in this guy, though.
Yeah, right.
They would start reading them.
But the reality is like it's not. It has nothing to do with representation. It has everything to do with homogenic control of the culture. You're not allowed to have a separate countercultural like thing that you enjoy without
right.
sinking its fingers into it.
And that's how some of these moves, that's how it feels. And that's why, and that's why some people really rally against it. Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to look beyond it if the stuff is good.
Yeah, definitely me too. Like a lot of people have similar complaints about Black Panther. Quite frankly, I think that the Black Panther complaints are unfounded. I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, it felt like just like a generic Marvel movie. Like, okay, like I understand that in order to set the scene for the next movie, Black Panther was important, but it really just felt like a generic, like, okay, whatever movie. The second time I saw it, I found it really compelling and really interesting. It felt like the fact that it went back to the roots of what made Iron Man a great movie. It went back to all those things. Made it a much better movie than like a lot of people gave it credit for. And I think what happened was people got spoiled with all of the like really good CGI, because Black Panther didn't have very great CGI. People got spoiled with CGI. They got spoiled with cameos. They got spoiled with like the immersive thing that they couldn't watch a standalone Marvel movie and give it, credit in its own right.
Yeah. And related to what you were saying, I guess when I look at what's happening with Star Wars and a lot of the fans that watch the movies, read the books, play the video games, read the comics, etc., go to the extent of boycotting films. Like, if Disney wants to go that direction with their movies, they better be certain that they're creating a generation of diehard fans.
That's true. Yeah.
Because when it comes to Star Wars, it's existed since the 70s. I've been to 2 fan conventions where people build R2-D2s in their garage. There's the 501st Legion of, just thousands, tens of thousands of people that make their own stormtrooper armor.
Yeah.
People, and these people are passing they're passing the passion on to their kids.
Yeah.
Like the Last Jedi to me really came across as a slight against those people.
Yeah.
Philosophically.
Yeah. Right.
So I guess I view it as a tragedy. Like, if Disney wants to do that, that's fine. If they want to discard the past, that's fine. But they better make sure that there's little girls and there's little trans children, dressing up as Jedi, making droids, building stormtrooper armor. Because if that's not going to happen, then it's a tragedy.
Yeah, for
sure. Kill off something so culturally important to America.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
What Disney kind of has to learn is you can make something that white people can enjoy, black people can enjoy, gay people can enjoy. Like, you don't have to target certain groups that you want to piss off. You know what I mean? Like, everything is just so divisive these days. Like just make something. You know what I mean? Just make something.
Just make something that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say, oh, I have this message I want to communicate, and I'm going to use Star Wars to do that.
Yeah,
that's a borderline evil thing to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, certainly don't like. Okay, if you have a standalone movie, that's one thing, but like to co-opt a cultural icon and make it push an ideological message. Yeah, that's. I agree with you.
And that's really what kind of got me about The Last Jedi. I try to look past it, but when it's so glaringly dumb in terms of its plot, it really amplifies the other concerns.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it does.
I love Rey. You know, I think she's a brilliant character.
Rey's an
But
amazing character.
I guess what I'm saying is you can have Rey, and you don't have to make Lando a pansexual.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
make Poe Dameron why isn't Poe Dameron a pansexual?
Yeah, he could. Yeah, he could easily be a pansexual. Like you know, like especially like given some of the things. I mean, like he might be homosexual given like some of like the undertones that some of the movies have carried.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's fine. Like, and you know, I'm kind of willing to like stand up to some of like the people who would oppose that. You know, it's like no, he like that's just his character. But like
Exactly.
yeah, like don't like it's totally fine. Like if at the end of the ninth movie, Poe turns out to like like marry what's his name
Finn.
What
Marry Finn.
Yeah.
Or whoever whoever it is, whoever
Yeah,
it may be.
Yeah, whoever it may be. Like if he marries a guy or something like that. Like I'm not gonna have any problems with that. But like
Yeah.
don't take an established character and retcon like who he is into like because there's no way Lando Calrissian was written in original format as a pansexual. Like
right. On. He was a lady killer misogynist.
He was misogynist as fuck. Like him and and that's what I've heard criticisms about the new. I haven't seen Solo yet, but I've heard criticisms about Spawn is like a total beta, and he doesn't even get the girl in the movie. Like,
I would disagree with that. I don't want to say too much about it.
Right. Yeah.
Because
I'll make my.
I don't want to spoil it. I will say, this is a very young Han Solo. So the Han Solo we meet in A New Hope, that depending on which cut you prefer, he just murders a guy in cold blood.
He shoots first. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he just murdered.
He shoots first because he knows the danger of the scenario. There's a difference.
Yeah, so he's an experienced smuggler at that point. Yeah. Han Solo isn't. He isn't a smuggler yet. So there's a lot of lessons he has to learn. Right. Yeah. I wouldn't describe him as a beta. He's arrogant and confident throughout.
Okay.
He just has to learn a lot of lessons the hard way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's like, imagine me, take me and say I, stumble into a life of crime. Am I going to understand all the subtleties and understand what it takes to succeed in a life of crime day one? Probably not. Just what you're going to have to do and how you're going to have to view people. You can't take like an optimist and put him in a life of crime and expect him to succeed right from day one. I guess that's what I'm saying. So he's a naive version of Han Solo. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is he's recognizable as Han Solo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's like just based on the previews. That's kind of what I've seen. Is that like it seems like it seems like he's a kid.
Yeah, he's a bright-eyed kid who he gets in. He falls in line with this experienced, basically mercenary, and he just idolizes this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which rightfully so. I mean, the guy's dual wielding pistols and he's twirling them and holstering them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I agree. We'll have to go see it because I've found that recently you can't trust an awful lot of stuff that you see online.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're gonna really hype stuff up. You're right.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna hype stuff up, and they're gonna like it's really like it's all thumbs up or all thumbs down. like anywhere you go. Like, and you know, this
Yeah.
movie is just like, this new movie is all thumbs down. And it's like, well, okay, I'm gonna watch it and see for myself.
I guess the best way I can describe it is, after The Force Awakens and Rogue One, I was super into trying to learn as much about the new Star Wars universe as I possibly could.
Hmm.
And then, like, reading books, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Just because, whereas after The Last Jedi, that just killed my enthusiasm.
Hmm.
I had no interest in learning about the new characters and the the repercussions of that film, because, like I said, it's just so dumb. Like, I don't even care. You want to murder Snoke with no explanation, fine.
Yeah, that did bother me. Yeah, but
Which
yeah,
he needs an explanation. Anyway, we already talked about that.
yeah.
But Solo has me interested again.
It's
There's
good.
things about that movie that I want to explore further. I guess that's the best review I can give of it. Is
Yeah,
it restored, at least partially, some of the lost enthusiasm from The Last Jedi.
that's good.
That's
Um,
really all I could say about it.
yeah, yeah. That does bring up a curious point that I've been thinking about recently about intellectual property rights. Um, so when you think of, like, a lot of the extent, like the Star Wars extended universe was, it wasn't, it's not canon in the sense that, whoever owns the intellectual property of Star Wars authorizes it to be true, but they let it happen anyway, and plenty of people have made a lot of money on books. Uh,
Yeah,
like basically like detailing the entire history of the Star Wars universe, and
yeah,
like they're like, if you look at like the number of books that have been written by third party individuals since the original Star Wars, it's like there's a lot of books out there, but
yeah.
the stuff that's considered like canon according to the fandom was selected to be such out of like basically capitalism at its best. Like, people people voted with their dollar, and and bought the books that they thought were the best representation of Star Wars canon.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things where uh it brings up it brings me to a question that like sort of takes us out of the nerddom and takes us into a more broad discussion of like how the free market works in terms of intellectual property, um because like a lot of arguments in the creative sphere, uh in terms of protection of intellectual property, is that like, well, like, how would you feel um, if there were like 10,000 movies about the same Marvel character or something like that, and you had to, try to like sift through them to figure out which one was the best one or something like that.
Hmm.
And or if there was like, like, you look at China and there's like so many knockoff like Mickey Mouse and Snoopy and Spider-Man merchandise. And the fucking Chinese, they don't know the difference. All they know is that it's American culture, and so they'll buy something that looks relatively American. And it could be like something stupid like it could, like they could buy like they could buy a pack of Prongles, and the catchphrase on the package will say like, once you pop, that's great. Like, they'll just buy that shit and they'll assume it's American culture. And and fair enough for them. Like, they've been living under a communist ideology where they barely had enough to afford the shirts on their freaking backs. And once their government adopted capitalism, their country got rich to a point where they can buy Spoderman backpacks.
Completely unrelated. I was showing some people at lunch an episode of Batman and Spider-Man, and they're just like
Man, I'm Pyre Man.
they're just like the fuck.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess you
like,
just
yeah, that like that's a good point. Is like that's certainly something that under intellectual property laws somebody can sue you for that, and at the same
yeah
time, like those are things that somebody may have made a couple of dollars on them, but
yeah
like the amount of people that derived happiness from Batman and Spider-Man
yeah
is like vastly outweighs the amount of money that somebody could have made doing such a thing.
yeah.
And it's one of those things where um
Yeah, it was kind of like a crowdfunded, and it was a community. It wasn't like a mainstream thing.
yeah, and it's like and it kind of goes back to the original thing where like intellectual property has to be anti-capitalistic because of the fact that people vote with their dollars, and
Yeah,
if you like you owning the official rights to create something with a thing's likeness is depriving people of of their ability to fully enjoy that thing,
yeah,
like based on the most creative individual that can come up with something about it. And 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 people like nerds especially are good enough at differentiating that they can say like,
oh,
okay, well
absolutely.
that was created by so and so that's canon in the so and so universe, but
Yeah,
this happened in another person's universe, and therefore this version of a character and I think it would totally be better for everybody involved in this scenario, except for the person who gets protection, of course. And it's like it's really the case.
yeah,
Like intellectual property laws, it hurts the consumer, and it creates like artificial monopolies, as far as I'm concerned, and and that's no,
yeah.
like
Well,
I can see in some cases. So for for example, I can see in cases of musicians wanting to I can see like a short-term intellectual property law. So for example, like if you create something, you get the you get to own it for like a 5 year, let's say a 5 year basis. So like you and your band, you write a song, you get everything from that for a 5 year basis. That makes sense to me because if there's like zero intellectual property laws, why would anybody create anything? Because like you're not going to make any money off of it. So
yeah,
why is like where is the incentive to create except for the sake of your like if we lived in a socialist society, that's one thing, but we live in a capitalist society, so there needs to be intellectual property laws to an extent in order to ensure
yeah.
that creators will create.
Right.
But like if your property is like 10 years old, you need to let people start using it because they're going to use it better than you. And it sucks for you that you're not getting royalties off of that, but you kind of just have to suck
Yeah,
it up because otherwise your thing would have been dead. You like just be grateful that something that you created still lives on.
yeah. That's a good point. It kind of creates an efficiency after a while.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, and that kind of there is like the socialist aspect of that. That it's like you don't deserve to eternally make money off of something that you had that was a good idea 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, under our system, you have to keep up your protection
Yeah, right.
every 30 years or so.
and if you look at Walt Disney, like I mean, it's just like absurd the amount of protections that Walt Disney is granted for their intellectual property. And it makes things genuinely worse over time. Because like
Well, it really does have a lot to do with how timeless something is.
right.
Like, if you look at Sega and Nintendo, Sega allows, geeks to utilize their assets to create, new Sonic games because Sega's kind of gotten to the point where, they're Sonic at this point, he's kind of like a cult character.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, and they have
so it's not like a bunch of nerds making a new Sonic game is going to actually hurt Sonic market share.
right, yeah.
So they'll just give them, assets, sound effects, music, etc., and say, "Hey, knock yourself out."
Right. Yeah.
You're just
yeah.
You're just making Sonic Adventures porn anyway, so knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Whereas Nintendo cracks down harshly because they could still make money selling Super Mario Brothers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nintendo's they do keep a stranglehold over their intellectual property. It has
like they come out with an NES Classic and it sells out.
Yeah.
You can't even find them. You have to pay $250 for it on the secondary market.
Yeah, but if you're well versed enough in the internet, you can just download a simulator and download the ROM.
Yeah. Although the skill you need to do that has increased over the last 2 or 3 years.
That's true.
Because they have. I mean, I used to download a ton of stuff on coolrom.com.
Yeah.
Now there's
Well, yeah. CoolROM kind of got taken over. You can get viruses from CoolROM now.
You can download all the Sega stuff.
Yeah.
All the Sega stuff you want. Knock yourself out playing Shining Force. But you can't find Zelda.
Right. Yeah. And
you can't find Metroid.
Yeah, right. But there's no alternative to that, and that kind of pisses me off. Because.
Well, you posted that. The explanation of that is that meme you posted one day.
Oh, I
where,
did.
Dr. Mario and Dr. Luigi diagnosed Sonic and Knuckles.
Sonic and Knuckles with 1,000-year K. that is absolutely the the meme response to that. That is the cultural response to that. Yeah.
I love Sonic's expression.
I know, right? Meme. Yeah, like that meme is just so fucking funny, and you have to know all about the cultural aspects of it, but that meme is fucking funny as hell.
Oh yeah, it's great. I show it to people.
Yeah, it's a really good meme. I love it. Yeah, I explained it to Katrina. Even Katrina gets it. To a certain extent.
Even Katrina.
Well, just go.
I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying you're a retard, but she's kind of a normie, and you're a total normie. Okay, yeah, you're a total normie. But I've introduced her to to internet culture and to meme culture and things like that, and so she can understand how a guy playing VR chat as Hank Hill and running around in a Naruto stance next to Kage is funny. If you watch Dragon Ball or Naruto or King of the Hill,
a lot more.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's definitely like a 7th level meme, and she's but she has enough knowledge that she can like she's like a third level meme lord, and she can
Friday.
she can make like she can grasp like seventh level memes if you explain to her.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Are we not playing?
I don't think we're playing tonight. Do you guys really want to play? Cody wants to play.
I want to play, but I didn't feel mentally prepared for tonight. Like, I want to play next week, but I want to, like...
Yeah, I'm not mentally prepared for this.
I got, like, so... out of my...
There is no basketball game next week.
Okay.
All right, so
There is none.
We'll finish this very intensive battle next week.
Okay. That's funny. Yeah. Whenever you post a meme, if you remember, text it to me because I deleted my Facebook account for a while.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And that was literally the only thing I enjoyed about Facebook.
Dude, like a lot of people enjoy me on Facebook.
Oh, it's great. You're great on Facebook.
Yeah, a lot of people really enjoy me on Facebook.
Well, I like it because it's just so blunt, and just in this culture where you got to step on eggshells.
Yeah,
You're just like, no, explain this to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
come at me, bro.
Yeah, I have
whether I agree or not.
Yeah, I have a Facebook rival too. Alex Tabor. Yeah, Alex Tabor. He's like my Facebook rival.
Dude, he makes me look conservative.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he makes my extra liberal girlfriend look
extra liberal.
No, yeah, right, yeah, that's
I'm liberal.
Yeah, she's liberal, but I'm liberal too, as far as the terms of liberal. But like she's a little bit more progressive than I am, but Tabor is he is sunk into the whole like, to give you like an example, like if I were to say something like white people should give up their wealth in order to benefit black people, he might agree with that statement.
He should. He should.
What's that?
Reparations.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like he's a he's a reparations like sort of totalitarianist.
It's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Well, I mean that subject is very interesting to me.
It is interesting.
I mean, if everyone would like to weigh in, I mean, I don't know what my opinion is right now.
It is, yeah, it's a hard subject to talk about because
it is deserved, honestly. But
that's the thing,
how?
right? Yeah, but how is the question? Because like nobody like yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, those right. Yeah, you hearing it from the the most progressive lefty person in the room has just said from whom to whom. Like that's
and another thing that I think I haven't looked heavily into this, but when you consider just all of the stuff that's available now that's not necessarily reparations, but is made available because you're a minority.
Right, yeah.
That seems like whatever the sum is, that stuff should be counted towards it.
Yeah, well that's what a white supremacist would say, Jack.
Like if there's discriminatory scholarships where they're only available for Black people or Native Americans, it seems to me that should be. I mean, there might not have been during the time that the slaves were freed, there may have not been reparations paid at that time, but it just seems to me since that time there has been an effort made I guess
Well, Jack,
that
that's very
you could
insulting. That
you
that
could all
that comment is very insulting to black people, and you need to check your privilege, mate. Like,
well
Well,
literally the only thing I've read is initially the freed slaves were promised 40 acres and a mule, and then very quickly
Lakers,
that
yep.
deal was
Right.
taken off the table.
After Lincoln's assassination, yep.
So, obviously 40 acres and a mule would be worthless right now. not worthless, but what are you going to do with it?
yeah, being that nobody knows how to garden or grow their own food, it would be completely useless.
You can sell 40 acres for millions of dollars, depending on where the acreage is at.
Sure,
Now I'm not saying like, there are definitely government programs out there that could aid one in dramatically increasing their overall wealth. So I guess, everyone's free to comment. This is just, as a pretty much 3 weeks looking into this kind of commentary.
I think reparations should be paid out, but not to this generation. There should be a reparation fund that none of us could ever get. It can only go to the next generation.
Huh.
But who's paying the reparations? Who is funding
Everybody. Take it from the tax, and if you want to implement it, I would say put it into the 1,000 lowest schools, with more money going to the weakest schools and less money going to average schools. Weakest schools are only predominantly black neighborhoods or low income.
Doesn't differentiate based on race. That differentiates based on economic status. And if you want to talk about economic status privilege, then I'm all for that. We can talk about that.
Well, yeah, because I'm not giving reparations just to a colored. Let's knock it all off the table. Everyone that's ever had anything slated against them, the bottom half of the population, just put it on the table.
Wait, say
just
what?
just the poorest people, regardless of.
Yeah, because you know what? If they are in that position and they shouldn't be, well, here's one hand up. And after that, man, I don't know. But where's the money come from? Taxes.
Yeah, it obviously comes from taxes, which means that you steal it from the rich and give it to the poor.
A lot of goddamn.
That's impossible. You can't steal from the rich.
Well, at least it's not like taking someone's house or taking someone's property. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, some stuff you see is, if you inherit a house, that should go into reparations.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of like rubs me the wrong way. But to create a fund using tax money, that's not as bad.
I guess. I mean, reparations should have happened. They just should have happened before 1900. Now, how the fuck it's so convoluted? There's no way to even do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got to the point where you can't really do it anymore.
Like, if I'm 132nd, African, my ancestors, I have one slave ancestor.
Yeah.
Do I get 132nd of what?
Yeah.
Of a full payout. You get 132nd.
Yeah, so you can have a 1 pound of mule and an acre and a half.
Yeah. Well, no, like, I mean, so here's like kind of a realistic solution is so like number one, you have to have a genetic tracking program like by the government to determine everybody's ancestry based on their genome. Right.
Wow, that seems dangerous.
Right. Yeah. That seems terrifying. In and of itself.
No, thank you.
But like say you did that. Yeah. Say you also trusted the government to not be corrupt. Like let's fundamentally trust the government here for a second. Like if you really wanted to, and this is based off of the fundamental principle that modern society is still run off of the white supremacist patriarchy that dominated the United States for 200 years or something like that, and that like that like in no way is the United States a meritocracy right now. Because like if in any way you could prove that the United States is a meritocracy, you could say, okay, racism is done. Like that's it. Like like racism is done. We have a meritocracy. It's all your fault whether or not you do well in your own personal life. And like the maximum level of wealth and success that you reach may be dependent on your starting point, but within a couple of generations, like everybody's family is going to sort themselves out. And that's the ultimate goal of a meritocracy is like you may end a little bit higher or a little bit lower than you deserve, but ultimately you're going to end a ballpark area where you deserve based off of your capabilities. And that's I think that's as fair as you're going to get with human civilization.
Yeah.
So let's assume so first off, in order to try to introduce reparations, you have to assume you do not live in a meritocracy. You have to do that in order to decide that that reparations are a good idea. And and you really have to prove that because
I think that it's just because things the laws should be that way doesn't mean people act properly in accordance with that.
Yeah.
You'd have to present an argument that the reparations would significantly contribute towards elevating the position of the individuals that receive them.
That is a very racist argument, Jack, if I may say so. You are being racist, and you are.
Well, I guess my view of it is like, let's say you give everyone $500,000,
right,
and then it's gone in a year.
They're like Mike Tyson, that shit.
What did you actually do?
Yeah.
What did you actually do?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. That is a good argument though, Jack. Because I've argued that before with people. Is that like if you gave equivalent wealth to what you thought black families would have earned had the last 100 years not happened. Had slavery, let's assume slavery ended, and then black people were treated as equal citizens, just a pure cutoff, and then they were treated as equal citizens, and let's assume they were given their reparations. Where would black people be now? That's an extraordinarily hard argument to make. But let's say we could decide on a dollar amount that black people were owed. Based on that, based on that scenario, can you say that if a person's grandfather was given that amount of money, that a certain individual would be in XYZ economic status right now, and then that's how you have to define what reparation should be. It's not based on what should have been given to your ancestors. It's based on where you should be now, based on what your ancestors would have gotten. And
is this a monetary thing? There's things that money can't buy, positions of power and people who have been in power.
Right. Yeah. And that's right. Yeah. That is a whole nother thing too. And
that's long. Well, that's interesting. I didn't really think of that.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
And they've been the biggest cotton farm ever. Wouldn't they be the leading producer of cotton right now? And all the proceeds should go to the most successful, if it was African American back then.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's a good argument against socialism.
Well, that's an interesting point.
I just thought of it. Sorry, I didn't have any time to think about it.
No,
that's interesting.
Yeah, no, the point you make is a great argument against socialism. But
because I think the whole point of reparations is they didn't really care about the money. They wanted equivalent as a person, which was what white people had, which was land. Land and the ability to be free themselves and make their own living.
Yeah. Right. Okay. But the way that people talk nowadays, it's and this is not an unfair point. If you when you free somebody in a land where in a place where all the land is claimed, to free an individual is to set them free to the horrors of the environment. To to be a slave to nature. And and if you don't also grant them the ability to claim land for themselves and farm for themselves and provide a living for their own family, you've effectively granted them freedom into a new type of slavery.
Yep.
Well, and I guess that kind of relates to my point. My friend had sent me a video where Martin Luther King had given an interview, and he basically argued that Black people were denied an economic start.
They were, yeah.
From the moment they were freed, the slaves were freed, they were denied an economic start.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Which, you can't really deny that. But I guess if it's about providing an economic start, since that time, there have been housing programs, there have been education programs.
Yep.
There have been tremendous opportunities made available, even within the last 50 or 60 years.
How effective are they going to be? Like, this is kind of like what we were talking before with, like, if you give somebody $500,000, if they grew up poor, if they grew up with parents who didn't know how to properly, and this goes for anybody, but if they go in a way.
But if you can give an education,
they're not going to be good with that money. That money's going to be gone.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But if you take a person who grew up in a household like that was like full of millions of dollars, you can give them the appropriate education all you want. Those children will and that's one of the things that you actually can prove based on wealth mobility. It's not often the case that poor individuals come into wealth, but it is very oftenly the case that people who are born into wealth will squander and piss away their wealth.
Oh, I'm sure that happens because they're not taught how to properly
right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
but I think they're probably more likely to be able to do that than somebody who suddenly is given $500,000.
Oh no! Yeah, no. That's that. I disagree with you fundamentally about that because, if you impart onto somebody who has never had anything a bunch of wealth, they will squander it. 90%.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's probable to happen. That's likely to happen.
Yeah. Right, but it's not. You can. It doesn't matter who you do that to, though.
I just mean that a child, a person born into wealth is more likely to be taught how to properly use it.
That's true.
That's all I know.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah, nobody's disagreeing with that, and it is. Yeah, like the fundamental complaint that you can always concede to is like it's certainly not fair that that people like Donald Trump have continued to be wealthy throughout their entire life. That is a fundamental complaint. That, I mean, and you have to.
It's a crime that Donald Trump is wealthy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to know who Donald Trump is as a person because, like, I don't know him as a person. Like, maybe he is a lot smarter than he appears to be.
I think he is.
Yeah, like he's definitely smarter than he appears to be. I'll grant you that. But he appears to be really fucking stupid.
Right, so that's not pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, he's intelligence. You could be very smart and not know a thing about space.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like there are realms where he is probably a master.
Right. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
It is cultural and racial topics. something that he's a master of? Probably not.
Yeah, he's super backwards there.
But is the business realm an area of expertise? Probably.
Yeah.
Is business law an area of expertise? Probably.
Right.
Well, to put some screws to that, what do you think about his economic choices about the import of steel, the tariffs on steel coming from China?
Well, his
Stupid.
threat in terms of the economy, his thrust throughout his campaign was there are international agreements that disadvantage the U.S.
Mhm.
in terms of trade that he said he was going to go after.
Mhm.
So I believe, you can argue the economic effects, but basically when he does something like that, I get the impression it's at least to attempt to make the world a fairer trade environment. During his campaign, he mentioned NAFTA. He mentioned U.S. trade with China. China executes economic policies specifically designed to disadvantage America.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things that people may not realize. And if spun a certain way, maybe spun as harmful. Trump is putting tariffs on Chinese steel. That's a bad thing. Well, you can't really say when it comes to economics, you cannot say beforehand whether a particular policy proposition is going to be good or bad. His whole thrust is I'm going to make a fairer environment for America. That's kind of his thrust.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like certainly. Yeah. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But you can I think it's appropriate to look at the objective impacts of his economic policy rather than you certainly can't pin the blame on him for being for being anti-American.
Well, let's take steel for example. Chinese steel. China, they manipulate their currency to constantly keep their currency weaker relative to the dollar.
Yes.
So, you could argue placing a tariff, eliminates that kind of predatory monetary policy. Kind of related to that.
You're a freaking undergraduate, Jack, but do you actually realize the actual implications of that? Like, come on, dude.
No, I will say I haven't read anything about this. I'm just commenting generally.
I've been looking up structural loads for steel and sexual modules and stuff and trying to understand that, but I don't have to order steel. So I hear the steel market's all up in arms. That's all I know.
Well, my personal view on that is some companies that use a lot of metal that I buy product from have been seemingly arbitrarily increasing their prices.
Okay.
And they kind of use, this blanket, there's tariffs.
Yeah.
But I guess in my experience, companies kind of use headlines to convince us that a price increase is necessary.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're doing that, that either means collusion or lack of competition.
They're not huge price increases. It might be 5 or 6 or 7%, but they just say, tariffs, we got to increase our prices.
Yeah.
Who really knows? Like the glass industry, for example, for years had a natural gas based surcharge on their products when natural gas prices were falling. Decade long price decreases in that particular.
That could have had anything to do with state regulations. like you would be in a better position to explain where that comes from, but like that could come from
Well, it's just my opinion that they,
right.
it was during a time where, energy costs a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, I guess it does. You know,
Yeah.
oh, that's why we have to have this surcharge.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, natural gas is at an all-time low. No, it's expensive. Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just have to learn more about it, try to understand the politics. I just know his political uh, bent on it is to try to make things fairer for America.
He's
Yeah.
making a lot.
Well, what'd you say, Cody?
He's making a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I haven't really researched it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, probably the documents necessary aren't available to us, but I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, I would be surprised if Donald Trump wasn't making money off the fact that he's president.
Yeah, me too.
That would be a huge shock to me.
If he wasn't,
no, I would be really surprised if Donald Trump was losing money while being president. Like that would be a huge shock to me.
Or in the long run.
yeah.
That would be, but here's the thing,
well, that kind of became obvious to me after he selected his cabinet.
Right.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and you have to kind of look at his cabinet as individual selections too. There are some. Right. Okay. So, but then that brings up the great question of like, what is the job of government? And fundamentally, I think the job of government is to protect the individual rights of people. And
both foreign and domestic.
Well, no, I think the job of government is to protect the rights of U.S. citizens.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that's what our documents state.
Yeah. And so
that's what the Constitution states.
Yeah, foreign individuals take a back seat to people who are born here
and pay taxes here.
What?
That pay taxes here.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, if you pay taxes, I think you should have it's assumed that everybody pays taxes, but like I think that if you pay taxes, you should have like a little bit more rights than people who don't pay taxes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think this is going to sound real bad, but I'm just being honest. I think in order to have a voting stake, an individual must also have a financial stake.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, to carry that out to its logical conclusion, you're suggesting that like if you're not a property or landowner, you shouldn't get a vote, and I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, the government. I mean, they allocate tax dollars.
Right.
If it let's use the example of a person that doesn't pay taxes, and let's say this hypothetical person is the voting majority, and an individual comes up with a proposition that would, let's just say it's flat out give them money. Hey, all non-taxpayers, we'll give you $100,000 at the expense of the taxpayers. That's just a situation where, of course, those people who don't pay taxes are going to love that, and the people that pay taxes are going to hate it. But because the one group is the majority, you just got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I think that's a very simple example.
Right.
But that happens on a much larger scale. So I think having a financial stake provides some level of relatability and provides some expectation of a return.
Right. Yeah. No. I do agree with that to some extent. I'm trying to envision the ideal state where there.
Well, it comes down to what you said said a little bit ago. what's the job of the government?
Yeah,
It's the job of the government to ensure that every person born within the borders is adequately trained for the workforce. You know,
yeah, right. Yeah, what is the job of the government? Yeah,
is it the job of the, you could pick any topic.
For the workforce, or
but that's like, okay, so like I think if you get into a that is a fundamental question that I think everybody has to answer. And
or is it the job of the government to ensure every person born within the borders has at least a middle class lifestyle, or an upper middle class lifestyle, or whatever it may be?
I mean, that's an absurd proposition for sure.
Well, it's a rhetorical question,
Right? Yeah. No.
Every individual, every voter answers that individually, But I guess what I'm saying is, if you lay out a particular proposition as a politician to a voter who isn't putting anything behind it, they're gonna think differently about that than someone that's gonna have to pay for it. That's just what I'm saying,
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're addressing a taxpayer and you're saying, we are going to increase taxes by a certain percentage to invest in these projects that have a return, that's kind of different than saying everyone gets a college education.
Right.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
No, yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. But yeah. It's one of those things where like, it's really one of those things where democracy shows itself to be a tyranny.
Yeah, it can be kind of extended along the lines of what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it can be.
Yeah.
Like, and again, my view, much like everyone else, my views are based on my own personal experience.
Yeah,
like in the first quarter, my business, we had to pay $50,000 in taxes, completely unrelated to whether we made money or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I hold the fundamental view of, okay, just by virtue of being in this space, we had to pay $50,000. Then if we manage to overcome that $50,000 and earn a little money, then that's going to be taxed as well. So me as a voter and a taxpayer is thinking, when is enough going to be enough?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and look at your like your employees. If you look at your employees, you don't employ a lot of people, but you employ enough people to give them a standard of living that they're comfortable with, and they're happy.
Yeah.
They're like that they're happy with that standard of living because they've worked for you for 20 fucking years, and they like
right.
All they want is for you to not demand any more of them, and they can just keep working and maintain their standard of living. And those people, if you try to introduce changes into your system, are going to be pissed the fuck off.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's really brutal.
Them not having a that we pay them wages, obviously, but we don't necessarily hold them accountable to that 50,000 of non-profit based taxation. If a politician says to them, your employer should be responsible for 50% of your transportation costs, they're going to be like, oh, that's really great.
Yeah,
of course they should.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Of course they should. Those scoundrels.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we should build a community playground in your employer's parking lot.
Yeah.
That might sound like a great idea to them, and it comes as, I guess, it's basically, we had a situation where it had snowed, and our parking lot was just full of snow. And my dad, he had the truck with the plow, so we didn't have a truck on site to plow it. So I made the suggestion, oh, maybe we can pay one of the employees to plow our lot. And someone rose up in righteous fury and said, oh, you can't ask them to use their truck to do that. What if they hit the building? And I said, I guarantee they will not hit the building. You know, if we give them our truck to plow the lot, there's a good chance they'll hit the building.
Right.
But if they use their truck to plow the lot, there's not a chance our building's getting hit.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. Like, we empower the voting population to have decision-making power in terms of how my property is used, I guess.
Yeah.
And they don't really have a immediate stake in it, so everything sounds good to them, you know.
Well, you're a dirty capitalist who owns the means of production, so you know, whatever your perspective.
Yeah, this lucrative window industry. I guess along what I'm saying though is being in this position, there's a lot of challenges the voter that doesn't necessarily have a stake knows or can relate to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally, I understand that. There was a restaurant out in California that ran itself by quote unquote communist ideology. I can't see how that's true. I can't see how that's the case, considering there was a central owner.
That hurts my brain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There was a person that owned the restaurant, but they wanted to operate it based on communist ideology. And so what they did was they let the individual workers set their wage and set their hours of operation and things like that.
He went out of business in 3 days?
No, they lasted for 3 years actually. Yeah.
I could see that happening. I mean, you can operate your business off of financing for quite a while.
Yeah.
You can bleed a stuck pig for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So they started and I did hear about this 3 years ago, and I and I was kind of like laughing at it. I was like, oh yeah, I can't imagine they're gonna last more than 6 months. Like, they actually lasted 6 years or 3 years. And so
that's about the within the average time frame of a startup.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So and that's the other thing about it. It's like, okay, they didn't last much longer than any regular startup.
I mean, you have this really great idea. You put together a business plan.
Yeah.
You approach in either the bank or investors. You get the startup funds. You operate on those funds until you die. That could take 3 years, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. But the funny thing to me is that the reason that they died is people stop patronizing them because they're well, they don't have a we have no idea when they're going to open in the morning or when they're going to close. It varies pretty much every day.
Too wild.
They're constantly out of particularly ingredients, and it's
because no one wanted to do the purchasing.
Yeah, it seems and the people who own the business, the people who own the business who are honestly the capitalists in the matter. They had to shut down the business because they're well, we let the employees have a stake in say of how the business is going to be run, and they ran it into the ground. That's
and related to what we were talking about before, that's tanking your business 101.
Yeah.
letting the employees run it.
The employees run
That's
it.
why
Yeah.
they don't own their own business.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Right,
tanking
yeah.
at 101.
Yeah, and and if you ask the frequent customers about the business, they'd be like, "Well, it was never open on consistent hours, and so sometimes I'd want to go there in the morning to get a sandwich for my day at work, and they
Well,
would,
that's an excellent insight.
yeah,
Now, I'm sure their the way they viewed their job would change if their compensation was proportional to the success of the restaurant.
right, yeah,
If you
yeah,
say,
yeah. Use
we'll
market
give you
forces
we'll
to
give you,
determine your
we'll
wages.
yeah.
Yeah, that pisses me off the most about because I think I do understand socialism and communism. I think I understand the fundamental ideological characteristics of it, and what it is it's people they do stuff because they think other people need it, and they assume that other people also do things because of their ability according to others' needs. Um, Unfortunately, literally everybody is a lazy son of a bitch and is not going to do anything unless you incentivize them to do so. And the
But
best
even then, it has to be a dramatic incentive.
yeah, and and it doesn't
It cannot be simply a 50 cent or a $1 an hour incentive.
yeah, right, yeah,
It's got to be
yeah,
whatever. You can never satisfy them, I guess.
yeah, no, yeah, you
Not
can,
There's definitely an amount of money you can give them that wouldn't be enough.
yeah,
Essentially, you'd have to, give them enough money as an incentive that would put them in that next bracket. Because kind of related to what you were saying, as long as they have that comfortable lifestyle, they're not really going to work a little harder to get a little more money if it doesn't bump up their lifestyle.
yeah, yep,
I can watch wrestling, I can watch football, and I can go camping on the weekends. If you give me $100 more dollars a week or $50 more dollars a week, I'm still gonna only be able to do that stuff. So you can keep your $50. At
yep,
least that's like my experience.
yeah,
Whereas I'm sure if we said we will give you $2,000 a week extra, or even a month, they probably execute the objective. But at that point, you can't make money. you
right,
know.
yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. At that point, you have to like
Now,
economics. Like that's the fundamental thing between capitalists and socialists is capitalists actually believe in the rules of economics, which are they're not arbitrary rules. They're actually fundamental rules of reality.
yeah, based in nature.
They're based in nature. Yeah, like they're like the closest things to the rules of physics are the rules of economics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has to do with Cody. Are you still there? And can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You've just had the same expression for John. Yeah. Yeah, the closest thing to the fundamental rules of physics, like the closest things to like the three rules of uh uh
Newton's laws.
no, what the hell? Thermo, like, how do you call it?
Thermodynamics.
Thermodynamics, yeah. Yeah, the
Oh.
closest things to the three laws of thermodynamics that you can get is like the laws of economics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people that try to ignore those are those who like they live in totalitarian ideologies. And a totalitarian ideology is bad, no matter like
You understand the properties of thermodynamics is something that's incapable within that system, whereas economics is based on us just being vicious animals that want to be the best we can.
Right. Yeah. But like, okay, so that is a
But
fundamental.
your relative success or failure is confined by the total resources within the system.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's a fundamental system of being a human being that you are limited by resources, and there is fundamentally a best way to distribute the limited resources of that are capable of being accessed.
Well, and if a binary computer was running this, you might have an amoral system, but or a system not based on any sort of morals, a truly fair system. But
Yeah, right. Yeah, if we had a binary computer that distributed all the, but then that depends on everybody accepting the authority of that system.
yeah, well, I mean, it can't be any worse than the authority we're governed by now.
Well, yeah, it can. Because it takes away individual agency, and I think individual agency is a lot more important than yeah. Like I would rather a million people die and the right person take charge than 1,000 people die and everybody just fall in line to an average.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you have 8 regular people on a train track, and then in Elon Musk on another track, and you can divert a train into who you're going to kill.
I'd kill the 8 people, even if I was on the other.
Well, you'd have to,
right?
Because keeping Elon Musk alive is going to be overall more beneficial to the survivors.
Right.
Oh, I should be. Hi, buddy. What you doing out here?
That's kind of how our system allocates resources.
Yeah, the people who,
for the most part.
Right. Yeah, we do certainly have our flaws. Like people who don't deserve things get things, and that's a problem.
Yeah, but I think to the extent that happens is really overemphasized depending on what your personal politics are.
Yeah, right.
I think as a group, meaning the United States, we're much more better off individually than a lot of places in the world.
Yeah.
Because we have, we're essentially free citizens.
Yeah.
And we could spend our weekends drinking beer and holding a whole bunch of lit fireworks in our hand, and then we blow off our hand and we can't work anymore. But
right.
Or we can spend our weekends tinkering.
Yeah.
And developing business ideas.
That's your idea of how the weekends are spent. I know a lot of people around where I live don't have weekends. They're working nonstop.
Yeah, well, I'm working nonstop too, Cody.
Yeah, it was just a dumb statement.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I hope it didn't come across as generalizing.
No, yeah, it didn't come across. Yeah, like Cody is speaking from the perspective of the poor. I'm speaking from the perspective of the upper middle class who all of their extra work hours actually get them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So like I can understand where me and Cody kind of differ.
Everyone has a different perspective.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like if I work Memorial Day, and then I go and I bury my commanding officer 2 days later. That's that's one thing. But then like Cody and his friends who work a fucking weekend, You know, like that's a real hardship on them.
Working 30+ hours, no benefits, no bonuses.
Yeah.
Will give you no benefits.
Well, you know, I feel like, and I'm not saying this is your situation. You know, I can't speak on individual situations, but I feel like a lot of the workforce in the United States is taken advantage of because they fully don't understand their rights.
That's true too. Yeah, and that's
There,
where
there's actually a lot of laws that govern how an organization can treat and pay its employees. And a lot of companies actually take advantage of the asymmetry of information.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Um,
that's where unions actually do come into effect. Is that like unions do represent the ignorant individual that doesn't understand his personal rights, and that's like unions should be around for that.
like envision, you know, maybe you've met someone that said, you know, oh man, I work 60 hours a week, but I only make $1,200 a pay. And you're like, how? Oh, they pay me salary.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
that's illegal. You know, they
but
have to pay you.
that's wrong. It's not like I don't give a shit about legal or illegal, but that's wrong. If you work 60 hours a week, like divide the number of hours you work by your salary, and like there's got to be some sort of, you
Well,
know.
I guess, yeah, you could do that. You know, if you know, you can pay someone could work 60 hours, 120 hours total. You can pay them 100, $1,200 salary rate. But at that point, they worked overtime. So then you have to pay them the overtime rate as well. That's just like a very simple example, but I guess just what I've seen, uh, a lot of times, you know, employers kind of violate the law and get away with it because the workers don't know. And you hear, you know, you kind of see this a lot too. Oh, I know it's wrong, but I'm worried about losing my job.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
You know, you kind of see stuff like that, like, you know, it's illegal for an employer to fire someone out of retaliation. Oh, you told on us, you're fired. Well, that's illegal. You know what I mean?
But they do it anyway.
Yeah, they didn't fire you because of the retaliation. They fired you because you weren't meeting quota, or because of this, or because of that.
Well, yeah, but at the, like, you know, much like a crime, which it is, they have to prove you know, whatever claim is made against them. They fired me out of retaliation. The employer has to prove that they fired that person for some other reason. You know, that's why there's human resource departments, etc.
Human resource departments are not there for the employees. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
They are there to
Protect the employer.
the company from legal action.
Yep. Yeah.
They do not help employees.
Yeah. Yeah. They follow the minimum legal representation.
They're literally treating humans as a resource.
Yeah. I mean, look, but that's like, as a pure capitalist, I'm gonna say it like that's what humans are. Humans are a resource.
Yeah, of course.
They're an input in the production process.
If you like, the bottom line factor is without that mentality, we wouldn't have what we have as a society. So,
well, it's all kind of, you know, it's all kind of related to what we've been talking about. You know, you have a human being that's working in a process, and they have needs. They have needs for healthcare. They have needs for food. They have needs for shelter, etc.
yeah, right.
So a human being has all these needs, and they may be working, you know, my company, for example, we manufacture windows, not exactly a big ticket item. So the economic value of that particular output is limited. So you have a human being working on that process, and just by the nature of, just by the value, by the value of the product, you know, the compensation for making that product might not be sufficient enough to fully satisfy their needs.
Right.
Well,
So at that point you can have a discussion. Okay, whose fault and whose responsibility is it to make sure those needs are fulfilled?
and why is it their problem to fulfill those responsibilities? They're to make money and make products. If they can ship it overseas and shut down U.S. operations, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, so that's why there's a lot of controversy in regard to these topics.
Yeah. I think that's what America's coming to find out, is that we're kind of a globalized species now. It's
Oh,
not
absolutely,
just
yeah.
competing against. It's the world.
So
Or
as an employer, you really want to, at least my view of it, we really want to try to treat our employees the best we can, but at the same time, we compete against other window manufacturers. There's a great many of them. There's only so much we can do as an employer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to stop you guys there because, Jack, your company is the ultimate example of what capitalism is supposed to look like, where you have the owners, except for your dad, the owners are struggling to keep the business alive.
Yeah. He just jettisoned.
People's livelihoods depend on you. You provide a valuable service for a community.
In a part of the challenge is not only managing the products and the competition, but also kind of their expectations for their own life.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes people leave because those expectations can't be fulfilled at the organization.
Right.
But some people stay because they lower their standards, or they're just easygoing people and they don't really need much.
I want to talk about with you guys. I've been recording this, and this might be the first video that I actually broadcast.
Okay.
I'll be forced to resign because I made volatile racial comments.
You're supposed to warn people. Go easy there.
I don't care.
No, I'm gonna pour my next drink in a measuring cup so I don't get too drunk.
Everyone has their own views, They just have their own views, their own philosophies.
No, but I think we've had some interesting conversations so far.
I agree.
Yep.
My views are based on my life experiences and education.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate your I appreciate Cody's views too, because Cody's a freaking hippie.
Hey, that's fine.
Yep.
And he has a like if anybody were to like based on his upbringing, I feel like he's like the most anti social program person that I've ever met. But at the same time, like based on his personal life experience, he has like some opinions that you'd be surprised a person of his upbringing would have.
Well, basically, where we're at at least the United States is as a group, we're like, all right, we have a civilization and we generally accept that we just can't let people die. So how do we morally and ethically make sure that people don't die for any other reason other than natural causes?
Yeah.
Right. That's hard.
And that's challenging, and there's a lot of differing views on how to make that happen.
Yeah.
Matrix.
What?
Matrix. Knock everyone out and throw us into a computer simulation.
That's
Well,
a
that's one way. That's one way to handle it.
that's a very totalitarian solution, Cody.
No, no.
And
You're
also that requires technology in order to do that.
We're getting closer. Have you seen any of the new prosthetic videos?
Yeah,
They're
we're getting
working with-
closer and closer, but until we actually get there, I think that the suggestion that we should just knock everybody out and put them into stasis is really oppressive.
but like we mentioned before, you know, what's the job of government? Is the job of government to just keep people alive? If it is, then
that's
if that's the job of government, then that's a great suggestion.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Good point.
yeah, that's true.
A lot of the people I've been watching, they want government to take all the risk that the private market can't take because there's no money to be made.
If there's the way I look at it is if there's no money to be made, then it's not worth doing because people vote with their dollar. That is the case. That is the fundamental fact of capitalism is people vote with their dollar. And if people like people can vote with their hearts all they want, they can go out to the polls and they can cast their vote all they want. But the fundamental fact is people go out and pay money for the things they actually want. And
yeah, that's the fundamental fact, at least in terms of their disposable income.
right, yeah.
But you know what? I would definitely, you know, it comes down to, you know, consumers maximizing their utility, and sometimes they necessarily don't spend money on things they need.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Well, how monetize the moon? You can't. But with the technology developed by getting to the moon and bringing people back, we've developed a whole new age. So from something that was worth nothing, we now have a whole industry.
Indeed.
So that's what the government. That's another point that the government can do: not just keep its citizens alive, but invest in infrastructure for the future that might be useful to the private industry.
Right, yeah, but like that sort of gets into the realm of who's more efficient, the private sector or the government, and
sure.
Yeah, you kind of get into that discussion at that point.
Yeah, the government is horribly inefficient, but
yeah, right. So why trust the government with doing anything then?
Well, why trust people who have a whole bunch of money to make the right decision either? The government gives people who have no power some power.
Well, they can be trusted to make the profitable decision.
Yeah, at the very least.
That's one thing we could probably all agree on.
Right. Yeah, and
if the profitable decision is always the right one.
Not necessarily. Well, it depends on how you define right.
Well, if you're making money, it's the right decision, and the people making money don't care how many people die to make some money. Not everybody. Oh my God.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
That's true.
There's a harsh history of people in power that shouldn't be where they're at.
How dare you say that all rich people are murderers?
Yeah. Now, I guess like the idea is that okay.
That's going on the internet, buddy.
Right. Well, no. Here's the thing. We get.
I'm kidding.
The marketplace of ideas is it like is the majority always right? And that is the fundamental question you have to answer in terms of democracy and in terms of capitalism. Is like either people vote with their vote or they vote with their dollar. But like, is the majority always right?
And, well, that's a question that doesn't really matter because it doesn't matter if people think what is right or wrong. What is right will always come to fruition. You can believe the moon's going to hit us.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's I think that's an idealistic perspective on it. But I agree with you. Like I think what is right will always come to the forefront and be recognized as right. Because history has shown that to be the way.
But the question is, does it always win?
Yeah, right.
Does what's right always win?
Yeah, exactly.
No. No, we wouldn't be where we're at right now if that was the case.
Well, no, I think we are No,
Where
I disagree with you. I think we are where we are at right now because right always wins, but it takes a long time for right to win.
Well, right mostly wins.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Or yeah, maybe that's a more optimistic way of
Yeah.
looking at it. It
Just,
always wins just given enough time.
yeah, you have to take a long time in order to enforce it, like in order for what's right to win. Like I do believe in the free marketplace of ideas. Like I do believe given enough time, people will adopt the right ideology about things, and and things will progress in the right direction. Um, Otherwise, the alternative to that prospect is might makes right, and the only thing that is right is who is mighty.
Well, I still think that's the governing force in our world.
Oh yeah, it certainly is.
I don't think we've gotten to the point quite yet where virtue just wins. I think the world is still governed by strength.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
Everything is
yeah,
governed by.
we're just fortunate that the right people are mighty. And then and
Yeah.
that's what I like to say to people who are the total like totalitarian ideologists, like the free communists and the socialists out there. Like, be a little bit grateful that that life isn't fucking worse than it is.
Yeah, you're not a gladiator or a slave of Rome. You know, we've
Yeah,
come a lot
right.
since those
Yeah.
ages.
Yeah,
But my
yeah,
point is
yeah,
the mighty rule, but we don't have Carnegie. We don't have J.P. Morgan anymore. Their kids are running it. It's not done by who is the most successful or brilliant. It's done by here's a handout, and you can just look at Alexander's empire to see how that turns out. So we're right now just in a decline.
yeah,
So we're 50 years before we're out of this.
yeah.
Because we're stuck in an age of brilliant people who made brilliant money who are no longer around.
Yeah. Yeah. Be a little bit grateful.
Well,
Oh yeah,
yeah, and the population is just growing so large. It's getting harder and harder
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
for individuals to stand out
Yeah.
or
Hunger.
individuals to make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, in the age of Carnegie, there was like 1 billion people or 2 billion people.
Yeah.
Now there's 7 billion, probably close to 8.
Yeah.
Well, those people are directly responsible for that.
He wasn't a good guy. Nobody's admitting.
The
That.
The one all impossible.
Yeah, he's not moral. Like, we're talking about more about.
Sorry, I know. I just
The wealth of the world. The standard of living has gone up in the past 100 years because of those men.
Yeah.
Those are the leaders we need, but those aren't the leaders we have. We have people who have faux power, fake power, unbelievably unrealistic power that don't have a concept of how to work it.
Yeah, that's true. And but the thing is, I think over the course of the next 100 years, that will fix itself as long as individuals,
Brilliance will
like that's the thing. Like the only thing you can ever do is orient yourself individually towards the right, like towards what is true, and that's why like I'm gonna tell you guys like Jordan Peterson, read his 12 Rules for Life. Like he has it figured out, man.
No, and I listened to some of his YouTube stuff, and it hit too close to home. It hurt.
Oh, okay, yeah, good. So that right.
It hurt.
I don't agree with everything he says, but overall, he's generally, in my opinion, correct.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, yeah, if he's like if he's hitting a little too close to home, Cody, then like he's the guy you should be listening to, man.
I know, he's just a lazy piece of shit. Okay, calm down.
No, yeah, I get you. Like we can't all be the we can't all be the embodiment of perfectness that he identifies, but
5%. No, man, there's an average because some people have to be average.
yeah,
I aim to be perfectly average.
Yeah, you do that.
Pinnacle of that.
The only thing I know about Jordan Peterson is he doesn't agree with the enforcement of pronouns.
Yeah, Bill C-16. That is a
Yeah.
huge deal.
I like that about him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how he became. There's a funny thing. There was an article written in a super leftist magazine where he spent like maybe 3 paragraphs, like verbally like sucking Peterson's dick about how good of a person he was, and then like bringing up that minor factor of like him disagreeing with Bill C-16, and it's like, oh yeah, he's just like, he's a fucking Nazi, he's a terrible person, like blah blah blah, like
You're dumb.
Yeah.
If you really like, I'm not saying if you agree with that or not, but if you haven't listened to why that's bad, one, you shouldn't be saying it. If you have listened to why it's bad, and you still disagree, or you still agree that they should have that whole enforcement of no, you're dumb. You're dumb, and you do not want freedom. Freedom is not your priority.
Yeah, I'm thinking of collecting a list of articles that disparage Jordan Peterson, and making a list of major news outlets that outright lie based on what they say about Jordan Peterson.
Huh. Well, I think that's kind of that's a point in itself. It's hard to find objective news sources these days.
Yeah. But one of the things that you can do is you can look at people who interview Jordan Peterson, and you can see how he reacts to that interview, and you can learn an awful lot about what is the cultural gestalt based on how people react to Jordan Peterson, because Jordan Peterson is not like, he's not like some sort of cultural revolutionary. He is like a moderate conservative as far as I'm concerned. Like, he is just like a guy who's saying,
well, he kind of strikes me as he has a view of what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
And he doesn't let people bullying him into altering his conclusions.
Yeah.
Which is respectable. I mean, it's not to say that what he says is right and wrong. It's just he comes across as he's not going to let you tell him without him putting in the necessary research.
Yeah.
Well, he got the research. He's very knowledgeable. A lot of his stuff is from simple mathematics.
Yeah, I dare anybody to present the appropriate research to contradict anything that Jordan Peterson says. Like, go ahead. Like,
well, theoretically, you could.
There are some things that like Jordan Peterson has.
I mean, I don't disagree with him in general, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you can't.
And along what Katrina said, everyone as consumers of information needs to get more along those lines, in that you're completely not going to disregard someone because you find a lot of some things they say offensive or inconvenient. I mean, a person could say good things but have bad or wrong opinions on other things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we are human.
Right, exactly. Because, well, we're humans.
Yeah, I mean, Adolf Hitler was a vegetarian.
Hitler is just that guy. Like, he's everything. Like, oh, I'm a vegetarian. He ate meat. Oh, I'm an atheist. He was a Christian. Oh, I'm a Christian. He was an atheist.
Yeah.
Like, he's just everything.
I was a Boy Scout. He was a Girl Scout.
He posted something on Facebook the other day.
Right. That's exactly it.
People don't want to eat them, then why are they made of food?
Oh yeah. If animals don't want us to eat them, why are they made of food?
You know you're in a discussion when you're talking to someone and they say, "Oh well, Hitler was."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, I know where I know where this
Well,
person's at.
that's the end of the discussion, and you've won. Like as soon as somebody else brings up Hitler, I mean that's a law of the internet. As soon as somebody else brings up Hitler, you won the discussion because they don't
That's
have
the
any
love.
sort of they don't have any logical or metaphysical or any sort of retort to the last thing you said or your ideology.
Right.
They're just okay, Hitler, like, and then that's it. Like, I'm gonna call you Hitler,
Well,
and therefore I win.
he's really used by propagandists to guide sheep
Yeah, that's true.
by a lot of different people, a lot of people coming from different perspectives. You know, if it's one person guiding a group of people, it's likely that they will use Hitler as an example of why they're right.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, my mom, she's good on that. You know, she'll listen to, you know, Focus on the Family, and she'll say like, "Oh well, Hitler was an atheist." You don't know that.
Yeah.
You don't know that. He used religious references in his rhetoric.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't know if he was an atheist, maybe an agnostic. I mean, he seemed to believe in some form of spirituality.
Right.
Oh, well, he murdered people, so he's an atheist.
Life, so.
As it turns out, only atheists murder people.
Yeah, only atheists murder people. That's true. Apparently, somehow.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't murder someone if you weren't in. If you believed in God, you wouldn't murder someone.
Why would you murder somebody if it wasn't in the name of God?
Hey, earlier century Russia, all atheist socialist countries, there was a lot of murdering going on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the people that I can't.
Well, whenever that comes up, though, you know, at that point it becomes a head count.
Yeah.
All right, all right, atheism is responsible for 500 million deaths.
Yeah.
At that point, it becomes like, all right, well, how many deaths is spirituality responsible for?
At least 1 billion.
You know, like, I feel like it's inappropriate to bring that up.
Yeah.
Like, because at that point, it just becomes a head count.
Right.
Oh, well, the conquistadors, they killed this number of people.
The common retort to that is it's over a period of time and what they were doing it for. They use the Christian ideologies and the conquistadors as like a bringing of civilization to the uncivilized, where they talk about the rapid decline of socialism into like the gulags and murderings of all the Russians, and how quickly it went from like atheism to everyone must die. And I thought that was a pretty weird a coincidence. But again, there's a lot of other world powers going on there, and there's a transition of like, we're riding on horses. We can drop gas bombs from a plane.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that, Cody. But the thing is, like, we have to look at
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah, and there's a lot to be said about that. And it's particularly important to study the history, but I think we have to sit down and nail down what particular ideologies mean. Because I think fundamentally communist ideology is a parasitic ideology that preys on the intellectually weak, and it requires the intellectually strong in order to prey on those individuals, to convince them that reality is not what it actually is. And
Well, we could get real crazy and talk about what is reality and who gets
right, yeah,
reality.
right, yeah. Like, let's assume we're not postmodernists. Let's assume that we actually have like a common fundamental understanding of what of what reality is.
It's not a postmodern thing.
Oh, but fundamentally, postmodernism is that there is no.
Postmodernism also does that, but that isn't necessarily a postmodern.
Yeah, no,
thing.
yeah, right, yeah, but okay, yeah. There are some other ideologies that also assert that, but yeah, like
no, that's that's an absolute.
Okay.
Bluff.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying to change.
Yeah,
subject.
right. Yeah,
Actually,
philosophy is weird, but okay. So like, let's assume that the people who advocate for socialism actually advocate for their own fundamental ideology rather than what their ideology turns out to be in practice. I think that's intellectually fair in order to give them that sort of consension. Is that like okay? All the times that your ideology has been tried, it was failed because people didn't implement it right. Let's go ahead and examine your ideology based on your own principles.
Well, what it comes down to is when every time I play the video game Civilization, I just end up murdering everyone with my military.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. I think Sid Meier's he has, and here's the very funny thing about socialists is they will look at Sid Meier's and they will say, oh, well, he just has a bias towards capitalism and democracy, and he doesn't consider the world from a communist viewpoint. And
although every time I just recently got into that game. I hadn't played it until about a month ago or so.
Which Civilization you play?
6.
Katrina and I played
every time I progress towards capitalism, just because you get the most balanced. It's the most balanced government in terms of the policy slots. So you can have a variety of different policies. Whereas if you go democracy, you can't have any military policies.
Mm-hmm.
If you go totalitarianism, you can't have any economic policies.
Yeah.
I will say this before I go and watch basketball. You will learn a lot about yourself playing Civilization.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
of it before.
The first game I played, I borderline just nuked everyone because my temper would erupt if the computer players would declare war on me, and I would just hound them down, just hound them down like, oh, you want to surrender now after I've taken 3 of your cities? You want to surrender? You started war with me.
Yeah.
And what good is your offer when I'm going to have all your stuff in a few turns anyway?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I recommend the game.
Yeah, Civilization is a great game. If you approach it from a Western capitalist ideology, it is a great game.
Well, I definitely see what you mean by that.
Yeah.
I mean, it focuses on balancing, developing technology, developing your economy.
Yeah.
If you do that well, you can win. If you just try to be peaceful and develop your religion, you could spread your religion and win. You can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. I don't know what difficulty you've ever played it on, but I've played it on deity difficulty, and
wow.
It's a really hard game. Like you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to pick I've played Civ 6 a little bit, but I'm really more into Civ 5. I picked the Polish. They get every age that you advance, you get another cultural policy.
Oh, nice.
So you get anyway. I try to win. The easiest victory to win is it's a diplomatic victory, as long as you can buy off the. I mean, and every civilization is different, but well, like one of the things that you inevitably find is that if you hold grudges, other civilizations will hate you for it. That's one of the things that like you have to build a strong enough military to defend yourself against all odds, and never declare war on anybody.
Well, what that game teaches too is having a military is just a part of the game.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you have to have
opportunistic opponents will try to take you out.
Yeah. If you don't have a military, if you don't have a way to defend yourself, that's the thing. Like, I've never won a game on deity where I didn't have a land advantage, where I was isolated somehow by mountains and rivers, and also had like an abundance of luxury resources.
Yeah.
So, like all the times that I ever won on deity, I had luxury resources and was defended by the terrain where I bottlenecked the opponent into not being able to surround me ever. And in those situations, I could pick freedom, and I could have the freedom ideology, and we could be like we could be the most prosperous nation, and everybody was so goddamn happy. But if I played deity in an area where I was like a war torn nation, I had to pick autocracy, and we had to constantly be at war and killing and taking everybody else's land in order to work out.
Well, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
That game's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's related to a lot of the topics we discussed.
I've only taken a approach with that game.
What?
Well, I've only played Civ 4, and I was military the whole time. I don't think I ever played any other way.
I mean, if you guys wanted to get like download Civ 5, we could play Civ 5.
I have it. I got both in a humble bundle.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we all like Katrina plays Civ 5 too. She's slow as fuck, but she can play. I'll shit stomp all of you in Civ 5, but
Oh, that's bold.
Yeah, I'll
maybe one day
stomp all of you in Civ 5. Yeah, you guys can form an alliance against me, and I'll shit stomp all of you in Civ 5. I've played that game so much.
You're talking about putting yourself into a corner. We'll just starve you of resources.
Yeah. Okay.
Your game is just to make sure you get nothing, regardless of the losses of my civilization.
Okay. Well, yeah, good. At least one person knows how to play the game. But if I kick your ass in the beginning of the game, and these two idiots don't know how to play, then I'm gonna.
I better practice.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's Here's something. It sounds like Cody knows enough about Civ 5 that he might be a contest for me. If we, okay. All right. Okay. How about this would be unfair too. I was gonna say, like, how about if me and Katrina went up against Jack and Cody in a game of Civ 5? But I could just tell Katrina what to do on every move, and we could kick the shit out of you guys.
Two civilizations as a cohesive unit is pretty scary.
What?
Two civilizations as a cohesive unit is pretty scary.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is scary. Because you can't control where anybody ends up. You know, like one person could end up near a natural what the hell do you call it?
Resource, be it defensive or economic.
Yeah, like one person could end up like next to Mount Kilimanjaro, and the other person could next end up Uluru, and you guys could end up in the middle of desert and tundra and not have anything near you.
Well, the desert's a good place to test my nukes.
Dude, if you get to the point of nukes, you've already won against me.
Oh, you're quick, huh?
Yeah, I'm not fucking around. You don't get yeah. Okay, I might get to nukes, because I've outpaced you in science. But yeah, no, we're not nukes if we're playing Civ 5. I'm kicking your ass by the Middle Ages if we're playing Civ 5.
Yeah,
All right, we'll have to carry this on next week.
All right, fellas.
Yeah, hey guys, I appreciate that. I'm actually going to post this online. I think we had some fun conversations. Honestly, I'd rather just like the three of us get on and have some conversations. We might be able to monetize this shit and make some money.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, my racist stuff might get us demonetized.
I mean,
no, you guys can correct me. I don't think I said anything racist.
No, you absolutely didn't. Yeah.
Well, if you're racist, then it'll come out.
No, if anything, Cody wearing that fucking hat is gonna get us demonetized.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I like wearing this. It gets a lot of conversation started.
Yeah.
People don't see what it is until I get too close. I'm like, oh, I thought you were wearing a Trump hat. Trump! I love Trump!
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you're wearing a Budweiser hat and camo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I love the failings of government. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, we should probably just get together and have conversations like once a week and just kind of post them and see where that goes. We might be able to make money off of it.
A raffle.
I know particularly that there are a lot of people within my unit that enjoy my Facebook comments. Yeah, like
you're active on Facebook.
Yeah, people really enjoy my comments on Facebook. So like maybe they'll watch videos of people that I care to talk to.
Maybe.
But you gotta edit these videos. You can't just have a whole 2.5 hours of bullshittery.
Right, yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, I think we should probably start like trying to I have things that I'd like to review.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We can all just kind of like talk about it together. Yeah, that'll be interesting. So,
I think good conversation.
Yeah. Because I've always felt that like a lot of people needed to listen to me and Jack's conversation or me and Cody's conversation.
Yeah. Well, we need feedback too.
Yeah.
Remember, we're pretty ignorant.
You need an outsider to just listen to how you guys actually converse and actually. Yeah.
Hey, when you guys come to Pittsburgh, are you is Jessica coming?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. We're excited to meet you guys.
Yo.
It's gonna be good. We're looking at places around Cranberry. We're gonna be there all weekend, hopefully.
We saw
Wow.
we tried to look for some Airbnb and it looked pretty
Sketchy.
it was very like
It puts the lotion on the skin.
it looked like there were bed bugs everywhere.
Bed bugs and serial killers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, come stay with us. You can sleep in our bed or whatever. It's fine.
I just have a big bed sleepover.
What?
He just wants to have a giant adult sleepover.
Yeah. Let's have.
Do on your weekends, exactly.
What?
Do on your weekends.
What's a typical weekend?
A typical weekend? Well, shit. A typical weekend is me wondering whether or not I'm gonna work, and her doing fucking whatever she wants.
What do you like to do?
Well, don't work the weekend after the 4th. That's when we're coming out.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, we'll be there. I don't see any reason why I'm not gonna be around. We can go into Pittsburgh. We can find a place to do.
Have they been to Pittsburgh before?
Yeah, they've been to Pittsburgh before.
I haven't.
She wants to see the Heinz Ketchup Factory because
Yeah.
she likes Heinz
Okay.
Ketchup.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to, we can just go into Pittsburgh for the whole weekend. We can do tourist attractions during the day, and do like local attractions during the night. Like Saturday night, we can go to a karaoke place that I know.
Are you talking about the place?
I'm into that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Jessa is all about writing everything down, so she has a itinerary.
Don't judge. God, it's just called planning, and planning ahead is always
Anyway.
good.
We'll catch up with you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Conversation
Okay.
too.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna post this. This is gonna be the first one that I actually post online.
Oh God.
Sweet.
Oh,
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah. We'll see you. We'll see you around.
Okay.
Bye guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.